Hello and welcome to the GameDev Outpost. In this video, we'll be continuing an introduction to Niagara in Unreal 4. This time, we're going to try and wrap up the usability and the user interface. So whereas last time we started with the Niagara emitter, and then we went to the Niagara system, we're going to start with the Niagara system and then talk about Niagara emitters. So the first thing we want to do is make a new folder. If you'd like, you can give it a new color. And then in your content browser, you want to right-click, go to Effects, and create a new Niagara system. This time we're going to create a template, and we're going to choose the simple explosion. And then for good naming convention, we're going to name it NS, and then whatever you want to call it. And then we'll open it up. Now the thing to note about the Niagara emitters within this Niagara system template are that they're not actually inherited. And the way that we can tell is by selecting a module and just adjusting any of the values. You'll notice that there's no green inheritance revert icon. Another way you can tell is by trying to delete a module and it doesn't yell at you. Additionally, you can copy these and paste them. So if you would like to work this way, you can work this way. But the powerful thing about the Niagara emitters are that you can reuse them in many other systems. They're just templates basically. So the question becomes, if you make a bunch of adjustments to any of these modules and you want to reuse it in another system, how do you do that? And it turns out all you need to do is right click and go to create asset from this. And then you can give it a name, choose where you want to save it, and then save. As soon as you do that, the emitter will open up that you just saved. Additionally, what you'll notice is in your content browser, you should see that asset. If you don't see it, you want to go into another folder and then come back and your content browser will be updated. So if we delete this emitter and then we drag and drop our new emitter in, we should see that this is inheriting. So if you select your emitter and you go to one of the modules and you adjust one of these values, you should see that there's a green revert icon, but there isn't. So this isn't inheriting yet. If you do want this to inherit, you want to go up to the gear icon and you want to choose Set New Parent Emitter. And then you can search for that emitter that you have. And now you see that there's a green revert icon to revert back to the default of that emitter. Now, if you just create an emitter from the start by going to Effects, Niagara emitter, and we'll just choose an empty one for now, call it whatever you want. So if you create a fresh emitter, and you just drag and drop that in, right away, if you adjust some of these settings, you'll see that this is inheriting by default. So that should cover inheritance. The next thing to talk about is selection and visibility. So within the Niagara system, a convenient thing that you have is you can multi-select each of these. And not only that, but you can also multi-select the modules. It's a little straightforward, but it's good to point out. So there are these tick marks at the top that will disable or enable your emitters. But we also have these little icons at the top here. This little guy that looks like he's hugging, reaching out to be hugged, this is your isolation. So if you click on any one of these while you're playing, it should isolate them. But if you try and select two of these and isolate, they won't isolate both of them at once. So the way that you can isolate more than one emitter at a time is by right-clicking and going to Isolate. And now you'll isolate two emitters at the same time. And similar, if you want to disable or enable multiple particles at a time, you can right-click and go to Enable. The other icon that we have here is a little bit of a redundancy, but this lets you know what's being rendered. So this little square indicates that it's a mesh render. This little circle indicates that it's a sprite render. And then there's also one for the ribbon emitter. If you select it, it'll just get you to the mesh render fast. And just the same, these three icons, the enable, isolate, and the mesh render, they're all down here on the timeline as well. They're the same exact thing. So if you come down to the timeline and you multi-select down here, and you right-click, you'll also get isolate and enable. Alright guys, this should really wrap up the usability in the user interface, and this should give you a better understanding of what's going on when you click on things. If you thought this video was useful and it helped, please let me know by commenting down below and liking the video. Thanks guys.